Hi everyone, I'm Will.
And I'm James.
And this is the first time that we're sitting down to chat about the premiere episode of The Amazing Race.
And just process it all.
We've watched it 4 times so far, so yeah. I think we need to decompress and chat about it.
Let's do it.
Hi.
Hi. So the premiere episode of The Amazing Race finally happened. It's been 2 years waiting for this moment to happen. What were your just initial thoughts going into premiere night?
It was just a relief to wait 2 years to relive the experience. It was just a full sigh of relief that we actually got to see what happened.
And relive it. Because there's a lot of times leading up to the premiere where you and I would try to talk about what we remembered about our experience, and things you remembered, I remembered very differently. So it's just kind of fun to finally see what played out in the episode.
But I also think for us, you don't really pay attention to anybody else around you, and so to see everybody else's experience and what they were thinking or what they were doing on the premiere episode was another part of the excitement, because we only know our experience and how we did different things and how we were thinking about different things, and so to see everybody else was really fun too.
But like finally getting to the starting line was a journey in and of itself. I mean, we had been daydreaming of that moment for months prior through the whole casting process, and to finally be on that Hollywood Bowl stage and see all the other teams lined up with us and hearing Phil talk about the adventure that was awaiting us. It was so surreal.
I'm gonna paint the stage though, because it
Pun
was
intended, the stage.
It was so cold. It was November, it was like 11 p.m. We all had dressed in like shorts and t-shirts, and the second that we stood up on the stage, or like we're hanging out waiting to go, it was freezing. I want to say it was in the low 40s, and all of us were in shorts and t-shirts. I think some teams were in tank tops, and so there's some moments in the premiere where you'll see us jumping up and down with Phil talking to us.
We're doing this with our hands.
Literally, everybody's doing this. You see the beards doing this. I guarantee you that is because we're freezing.
Yeah, we were all so cold, but I also think the adrenaline really started to kick in.
Yeah.
Like it started to actually feel real that, oh my gosh, we are about to go on The Amazing Race. We're going to compete against these 10 other teams that are lined up here with us. It was just, I know for me, having been a fan of the show for so long, since season 1, I like just still couldn't believe it.
You've been a fan since season 1. I've also been a fan, not since season 1, but like later on, I think probably like season 5 or 6 when I started watching. My babysitter got me hooked on it every Thursday night. We would watch Amazing Race after I had like basketball games or after I did my homework. We'd always watch The Amazing Race. So I've been watching almost as long as you have, and I think from the start of our relationship, that's something that we bonded over a lot, is not only Amazing Race, but also our love of just all reality TV. When you heard Phil say, "The world is waiting for you," what was your like thought? Or what went through your brain?
I think my heart sunk. And then my soul left my body. It was such an out-of-body experience. And then the moment his arm went down and he said, "Go," it was just literally my soul, like just pulling me off the stage, running towards our backpacks, and then just ripping open that first clue. Oh my gosh. I know I've already said this, but it was just a dream come true.
I love that they already showcased you being like, "Come on, babe," because in the whole premiere episode, you either use the word babe or baby to get my attention.
That is not fair. You could not anticipate that going into the premiere.
Why? You call me that all the time, and
But we don't know how they're going to edit it so people can like hear or see that kind of stuff. Like, no, I should have been crying, even though I only cried once in the premiere, even though you didn't see me cry. It's just, you could hear it in the tone of my voice. But I actually want to talk about that comment, because I know people have tweeted me about saying that I've applied 9 times, and I have definitely applied many, many times. The first time I applied was Family Edition with my family in 2005, I believe.
There's video proof, and it's like very funny.
Yeah, we we went dug through the Wallington archives of family videos, and we found the audition tape.
1, 2, 3, go Wallington!
Like a lot of people were playfully poking fun at me for the way that came
like
off.
James's
like
poor mom.
Like, yeah, but it really was just more so of like, it was always meant to be you. I had been wanting to be on The Amazing Race for so long, and how cool. I never thought growing up that it would be with the love of my life. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring up my comment, because I know there are some playful jabs at me on social media for saying that.
No, I mean, I understood. I think the first time we applied, I think was the social media season.
So we didn't fit the theme.
We didn't fit the theme, and
29 was singles.
29 was all
which
singles, which
apply.
we didn't fit that theme. 30 was the professionals. I'm not a professional.
We applied, but we just didn't know that there was even a theme
yeah.
applied.
And then 31 was honestly, was the season that we actually like
applied,
got through the process, and then they shifted to be the Reality Clash, and so we got pushed
to 32.
All of the people who we auditioned with got pushed to 32. So yeah, I mean, it's been like since season 28 that we've actually been trying to get on the race. When you opened up, or when we ripped the first clue and you saw Trinidad and Tobago, did you immediately know that they had never been there before?
I did, but I couldn't tell you where it was. Like, I remember thinking, this sounds like an island, but I didn't know geographically where it was. But yeah, I knew that the race had never been there before, which was pretty exciting.
I think it took us a while in our taxi to reread the clue and then recognize that, oh, we're all on the same flight. Like, we thought that we needed to get there fast and get tickets, but then the clue said, you're all on the same flight. And
exactly.
I mean, after that, you kind of, that tension or that stress of getting on a flight was gone. And so we got to really spend a lot of time with the teams at the airport and meet everybody, because that was the first time we actually got to talk to the teams.
But it was also late, so it wasn't like substantial conversation. It was very surface level, and I think realizing the long journey we had ahead of us, everyone tried to do their best to sleep at the airport.
Tried.
Tried the
It's
best.
a loose word, because it was so hard. At LAX, the intercom would come on every, 30 minutes, saying, don't leave your luggage by yourself. If you see anything suspicious, report it. And so you'd try and like get really close to falling asleep, and then you'd wake up every 30 minutes being like, this woman on the intercom is so loud.
I just want to sleep.
So it was very challenging to actually get some rest. We did have a layover from LAX to Trinidad and Tobago, and that was in Houston. And that's kind of when we had lunch with other teams. We did some research with other teams. Us, Ishwar and Aparna, sat at a restaurant and used an iPad to do some research on Trinidad and Tobago, try and find a map. And the next flight, like, it was all the teams kind of sitting together. We got free snacks. We got to bond a little more. And then we got off the plane and did that first challenge, which, to be honest, was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Oh, I was exhausted again just watching that play out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you falling over the actual steel drum was enough of an indicator of how exhausting it was.
Especially with 25 pounds of luggage on your back, and then being 6'6", bending over and pushing this barrel. Like, I don't think the episode did it justice to just how insanely hard pushing that barrel was. It was so hard, not only because it was heavy and then you have to bend over, but the road that you pushed on was so uneven that you'd push for 5 feet, it'd hit a rock or hit a snag, and then it would turn. So you'd have to move the 50-pound barrel to go back this way, and then it'd go this way, and then you'd run into somebody, or there'd be a car, so you'd have to move over to the side, and the sidewalk did this the entire time. So it was just constant
movement,
never being able to just push it.
And it's a complete difference in just temperature, climate in general, from the Hollywood Bowl where we were all freezing to super humid, very hot, lots going on. Like, it also didn't help that we showed up to the fruit stand at the same time as the blondes, Haley and Kaylin, the Olympians, Kelly and Levon, and the
Leo
green
and
team,
Alana.
Leo and Alana. So there was just so much commotion, and I think we all knew at that point we were really fighting for that last spot on the first flight. Granted, we didn't know what it was because the clue said you would get an advantage, the first 7 teams, but because of our knowledge of the race, I think we kind of anticipated it was going to be a departure time of some sort. So I think that's going to a question that came in on Instagram from @theOmarCosgrove. When did you realize this is real? You're actually competing. I would say this is the moment. We showed up to that clue box second to last. And here's how we know we were not at the front of the pack. When we ran out of Trinidad and Tobago Airport, everyone got a taxi. We got into ours, and the taxi did not start, which already set us back. What a stressful moment that was. Not a good way to start the leg.
And I also, like, in my bio on CBS, I said I have a fear of taxis, but it's more so of that losing control of the moment and what can happen. Obviously, the first time we got into a taxi in a foreign country, it didn't start.
It did not
start.
So
it's like brought all those fears of not being in control and having no idea what to do, like, immediately to the forefront of our race. And I think we were already super stressed. We didn't have a lot of sleep. We got out of that taxi and had to wait for another one, which put us at the back of the pack, and we were able to pass Ishwar and Aparna.
We did.
That's it.
That
we
was
just
the
got
only
past
team.
one team. And I mean, if you saw Ishwar in the episode, they were kind of nonchalantly trying to get there, and we passed them, and we're like, hey, bye.
So that kind of touches on a question from Luke on Twitter @DMLCanic. They said, was there any difficulties with navigation on this leg that didn't make it on the show? And at what point during the leg did you feel most nervous about your placement? It was definitely the initial jump from the airport going to that fruit stand. It just really, sunk in that we were actually finally competing and leaving the airport last. That was definitely stressful.
And in that moment, you didn't know if you were going to be racing all night or if you were going to have a period to rest. And so not knowing what was coming next really put us in a stress mode. Because you hear me going, James, faster, because we were just like, this can't be the end if we're already in the back of the pack. We got to make up time. Let's rewind to when I flipped over the barrel. I was so tired, and then I got to that little ledge to go into the carnival party, and like the barrel got caught going up the hill and came back down towards me, hit me in the leg, and I just like fell over. My backpack came over my head, and then I stood up, and all of our clues popped out of our fanny pack, and you just see me like just like so over it, picking up the clues from the floor in like slow motion. I was surprised that we actually got 7th to get the flight, because the blondes were next to me going in. Kelly and LaVon were already in.
Once they showed that clip of us in the carnival, it was kind of a mad dash for our 3 teams to get that
and
clip.
nobody could find the
Luckily,
midnight
the midnight
robber,
just
which we thought was a devil.
I don't know why. I think it's because there was one.
There was like
guy
the blue
dressed up with
devils
the blue.
around. Yeah. We
But,
literally
praise
thought it
the
was
Lord.
a devil.
We were saved by the devil. It is
Saved
what it is.
beyond.
Midnight Robber does have this like devilish theme to it, I feel like. But so going from 10th to 7th and being the last team to get a ticket on the first flight to Tobago the next morning, definitely I think was a sigh of relief for us, and said, okay, at least we're gonna have this 30-minute buffer going into this last half of the leg.
We're off to Tobago.
Which, again, no sleep. We had not much.
Yeah.
I would say
This
from
was worse.
the
to
moment we landed in Tobago, I would say, like, for me, probably no more than 3 hours of sleep from the moment we left the Hollywood Bowl. I would say the same for you, because neither of us really got
I probably had
rest.
about an hour of like relaxing period. I don't even know if I ever fell asleep at LAX.
Did you ever feel relaxed?
I feel like I was able to like calm my body enough to feel as though I was resting, but I don't think I ever fell asleep. And then after the steel drums in the airport at Trinidad, when we slept there, I had put like 4 chairs together to sleep on top of the chairs. We had brought these little bitty baby blankets. We had these blow up pillows that we used. But
nothing really comfortable.
But then again, I probably slept an additional like 2 hours. Like
Yeah.
it was not remotely enough to where you felt 100%. And so that fatigue exhaustion really hits you in the face, and you're running on just pure adrenaline.
Oh yeah. Getting into Tobago, though, it said we were first place at that point, reading our clue to go to Nylon Pool, and the water was unreal. Like, it was so beautiful, so clear. I know we were just really excited to finally, like, get into the water, and it was super hot, and the entire time from the boat ride to this pool, we knew that we had to memorize the combination on our fish as well as the colors. So I know for me, we saw it play out in the episode, getting into the water, my brain went bye-bye, and I could not remember the colors to save the life of me, okay? I knew the combination.
But I know what happened. I know why we got really confused on the colors.
Well, yes, but I think I feel like I have a pretty good memory. I just could not remember the colors, but I did remember the combination.
Oh yeah, and I think what happened in the boat was the fish was attached to the boat. We lifted up the fish and I held it like this. And the tail is over here in this hand and the head's over here in this hand. So I read left to right from tail to head, and it was red, yellow, green, yellow, red, green. And then James read it facing me and read it his left to right, which means green was first.
So completely different.
Completely the opposite of
yes.
what I had memorized. And so as we were going, I think we were looking at it differently and we were calling some stuff out to each other in terms of colors. And then at one point, he just started saying random orders because I think he recognized that he might have memorized it wrong, which you didn't, but I had memorized it a different way. And so at one point, you literally were just like holding them up so I could see, and I would tell you yes or no, and then we would move to the next one.
And I'm only relieved about this particular instance that they showed our fish in the episode, because when I saw the colors, you and I talked about it. I was like, so we were right. Like, I read it a certain way, you read it the other direction. And I'm just glad that we got that screenshot to know that I wasn't losing my mind.
You weren't losing your mind.
But also, I was tired, and you seemed so confident in the combination you had that I didn't want to second guess it, even though I kept throwing out random colors to you. I'm just glad we ended up getting it.
But we also went really fast. I think for our height, being in that water was a plus, because for me it was like 3 feet, which comes up to my waist.
I know, and you were wearing a life jacket. Like, we looked kind of silly.
And then you see everybody else running around and the water's literally up to their shoulders. Like, we were able to like run in the water and look at a fish for 0.5 seconds, throw it back in and keep going. So we were like really going fast. Our issue was just memorizing the colors in different orders. And then, yeah, it was a fun challenge. I thought it was really escape roomy.
There were so many.
Trying to find
so many fish.
The lock. And then you had to swim over to the boat, which was far away, and
then swim back to our boat,
which was very far away.
Yes. It was a lot of swimming.
It was a lot of swimming, but again, that like long leg reach was super helpful in that.
Well, there was that one clip of you just kind of like gracefully
like pushing the water out of the way.
Yeah, like you were floating on the waves. We finally get to the dock at one point and read that it was a roadblock, and it said, who thinks that they can steal the show? And
unfortunately,
steal was italicized, which also had it had an emphasis on steal, and then it was spelled steal, S-T-E-E-L. We could hear the steel drums on the beach. We couldn't see exactly what it entailed. So we just kind of went with our gut in that moment. And that's why I kind of said, you should do this. You have rhythm. It could be a dance thing. We weren't really sure. So I don't regret that you did it. I think either of us could have handled this roadblock. But do you have any regrets about doing it? Do you think I should have ultimately have done it?
I've never played an instrument before. Yeah, I have music ability and dance and all that stuff and choreographing and being able to listen to music. I do think you probably could have done it in less tries than me, but I don't regret me doing it first. I think both of us were so fatigued, and then after being in the water with the fish and I feel as though you were a little bit defeated because you probably felt that you didn't remember it even though you did. And so I think I was totally fine in stepping up to do
I
it.
think you were definitely in a better headspace.
Oh yeah,
I was just like not all there.
When you're tired, you're like checked out. And so I think either one of us could have done a really good job. And I think if you would have done it based on where we were in the lineup, I don't know if we would have done better.
We think we probably would have been the same.
Yeah, I think either one of us would have been fine. The positive side for us in getting to the roadblock in third place is I was able to learn it pretty quickly, and then you saw that the notes were in front of you when you played it with the band, and when I got in line, there was no one in line. So it worked in my favor because I was able to do it 3 times in a row to really get that practice. And then on my 4th and then my last time, the line had gotten longer, but it still wasn't more than like 4 or 5 people. So
Right.
I was able to practice more with the band than the other teams. And there was just one note that changed from line to line that I kept missing. That's the only thing that I would miss every time I did it. And I thought that mine sounded very good.
I think it sounded great. I was enjoying myself on the sidelines, moving to the music, although so stressful because you can't help your partner in a roadblock. So that was really rough. And then I think once we saw Hung and Chi, Michelle and Victoria, and Madison and Riley start to leave, I think there was a little bit more added pressure to, oh my gosh, we need to start nailing this roadblock because most of the teams had already arrived at this point. So that pressure really started to kick in, which another question on Twitter from @AdamandEvil said, asked, do you remember any of the conversations that were had waiting in line for the steel drums?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I bet the atmosphere was tense. I know that there were conversations that were had. Again, I don't know if it was anything other than like a, hi, how's the leg going for you? How are you feeling? Just because you really kind of wanted to focus on the support you were able to give your partner. But I think very quickly, as the teams started to leave, the conversation, at least for me, shifted and it was more like, I need to focus on you, making sure I'm your biggest support, biggest cheerleader during that, and that you could hear my voice through it all. Rather than focus about the other teams.
When we were in line to play the music, it was like a, you can do it, you got this type of thing, and you really didn't know the skill sets of any of the other teams, and so some of them could have been like musical prodigies, hashtag Chi. Even Michelle and Victoria were very musically inclined. So you really didn't know how everybody else was going to do, so we just, I guess, cheered each other on the whole time.
But when we finally read the clue, like you finally got the roadblock done and over with, and reading that clue and having it say, make your way to the first pit stop, what were you feeling? Like, I know we were super relieved that it was a pit stop. I know we were tired at this point, but also it was just the realization sinking in that, oh my gosh, we're in the top half of the pack. So there's another sigh of relief. We didn't want to get too confident, but it was also like, okay, we have enough of a buffer to get to the end of this leg.
And I think I had noticed certain people struggling pretty hard with the music before we left. And so when we got in the boat and we were going, it was that moment where you know that you're going to be able to move on in the race. And recognizing that, like, your placement doesn't really matter. Like, you know that there's a few in front of you, you know that there's a bunch behind you. And for us, it was like, just get there, get to the pit stop, and then just, like, breathe for a second. So I think both of us were like, thank the Lord it's a pit stop, because what a long, hot day. It was very hot.
I know, but when we finally showed up to the pit stop and had a race with goats... That was a moment where I was like, what are we about to do? We're racing with goats?
We had showed up to the goats right after Madison and Riley, and as we're holding our goats, we're like, just don't let go. But also, we're tall, and so all you have to do is just use your very, very long leg, like the gait of your stride. So I wasn't super worried about it.
Well, I'm glad you weren't. I remember joking with the locals who were helping with the goats and looking at them and saying, how fast are these goats really? Like, how fast are they really going to run once the gate opens? Which goat is the slowest? And all they did was laugh at me for asking these questions.
You're not that bad.
But yeah, once we started running with the goats, I was so focused and just like ready to be done that looking back on it, it was so hilarious.
It is quite funny.
Like, it's hysterical. I mean, poor Hung, we saw,
She fell.
completely wiped out, but what a way to end a leg of the race.
She literally got her own watermelon moment.
How did you feel, though, when Phil told us we were 4th place and then said, but you're still racing?
I was just so tired. And not even from like the leg, but just being sleep deprived. I was so exhausted, and then learning that we were still going was like...
Yeah, that was another moment where I was like, okay, this is actually happening. The race is on. This competition is real. And it's real hard.
Do you think that the preparation that we did prepared us for that exhaustion?
No, I think, I mean, if you go back and you watch some of the videos we posted of us preparing leading up to leaving for the starting line, we did everything we could, or we felt comfortable with, as far as like running with our backpacks, adding weight to it every now and then, studying up on languages, studying up on geography and country flags, rewatching seasons of The Amazing Race. We did everything we felt in our control that would be beneficial, but that's the one thing I don't think anyone going into the race can plan for or comprehend. Like, not at all.
There's no way. I
No.
think we had to get our feet wet in the premiere to really grasp
Literally.
that exhaustion.
But hey, we survived leg number 1.
What was your favorite part of the premiere? It can be about us or it can be about another team. What was your favorite?
My favorite part probably was Michelle and Victoria. They are just hilarious. They had so many wonderful parts.
I
of
love
the premiere.
goat cheese.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, when Michelle was like, I love goat cheese, running to the pit stop. I don't know. Michelle and Victoria had some really fun moments of the premiere that I definitely laughed at.
Loved.
Yeah.
Loved. I think my favorite moment was watching my parents laugh at when I fell over the barrel. My dad made it his Facebook profile picture.
I know, he screenshot that specific moment and made it his profile pic.
Go, Will! Over here! Yeah!
Over here, babe. Over here.
Yay! Okay, 7. Oh, that was good. You caught up.
First flight.
I thought it was funny to be with them and watch the premiere and then them die laughing at when I fell, because I think they know me really well, obviously, and so they could see it in my face that I was just really frustrated. So I think they got a real good kick of that. So I loved that clip, because all the moments of where you fall or trip or do those types of things, in the moment it's not fun, but after you watch it, it becomes a funny moment to relive.
Well, I think that concludes our recap of the first episode of Amazing Race Season 32.
Yay, I'm really excited.
And if you haven't noticed, just from watching in our video, we are wearing purple Catfistin' Kings t-shirts in honor of Nathan and Cody, our fellow competitors in The Amazing Race.
The Noodlers.
The Noodlers.
Love
Love you
them.
guys. So, we're wearing this in honor of them today.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed what we had to say about the premiere episode of The Amazing Race Season 32.
If you have any more questions that we didn't get to answer, be sure to ask us on social media and we'll try to answer them.
Stay tuned for episode 2. We're off to Bogota, Colombia.